The space station was huge. Hyunwoo Park had seen it on screens before, but standing here in person made his stomach turn. The Galactic Council station looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness between stars. Each petal was the size of a city, and 47 different alien species lived and worked inside. Hyunwoo walked down the long hallway toward the main council chamber. His Black Earth Federation uniform felt heavy on his shoulders. Other beings moved past him. Some floating, some crawling, some walking on legs he could not count. They all stared at him with eyes that were not quite right. Some had too many eyes. Some had none at all. The human ambassador had been to this station 3 times before. Each visit had been worse than the last. Today would be the worst of all. 2. Guards stood outside the council chamber doors. They looked like walking trees made of blue crystal. One of them spoke in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. "Human Ambassador Park, the council waits for you." The doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the chamber was dark except for the lights that came from each species section. Hyunwoo walked to the center of the room where a single chair waited. For him. Around him, in a perfect circle, sat the representatives of 47 alien civilizations. Some of them had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire. Others had built empires that spanned entire galaxy arms. All of them were here today to judge humanity. Council Prime Velthari rose from her seat. She was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished silver. Her species, the Altarians, had been the first to form the Galactic Council 3,000 years ago. When she spoke, her words came through the translation devices that floated near each seat. "Human Ambassador Park," she said, "you stand before this council charged with serious crimes against galactic law." Hyunwoo said nothing. He had been told to listen first. "Your species has broken the non-interference directive 17 times in the past 50 years. You have made contact with primitive species without council permission. You have given them technology they are not ready for." A murmur went through the chamber. Some of the aliens made sounds that the translation devices could not turn into words. Velthari continued. "You have terraformed 12 worlds without filing the proper environmental impact reports. You have built military bases on 6 of those worlds." The accusations kept coming. Hyunwoo knew they were all true. Humanity had broken almost every rule the Council had made. They had done it on purpose. But most serious of all, Velthari said, her voice getting harder, "Intelligence reports confirm that humanity has developed quantum weaponry. This technology is forbidden to all species under Council protection." Now the chamber erupted. Aliens shouted in languages that hurt Hyunwoo's ears. Some pounded their desks with tentacles or claws. Others flashed lights that might have been their version of angry words. Velthari raised one long arm and the noise stopped. "The penalty for developing quantum weapons is severe," she said, "but the Council is merciful. We offer humanity one final chance." She paused and looked directly at Hyunwoo. "You have exactly 1 standard galactic year to do the following. First, abandon all human colonies in the Orion Arm and return your people to Earth. Second, surrender your entire military fleet to Council forces for inspection and disposal. Third, submit to permanent Council oversight of all human activities." Hyunwoo felt his heart beating faster, but he kept his face calm. "If humanity agrees to these terms," Velthari continued, "you will be allowed to exist under Council protection. Your species will be safe, but you will never again be allowed to develop advanced technology or leave your home system without permission." And if we refuse? Hyunwoo asked. The chamber went completely silent. Even the background hum of the station's engines seemed to stop. Then humanity will be declared a threat to galactic peace, Velthari said. The full force of the Council fleet will be used to contain this threat. Permanently. Hyunwoo understood what she meant. They would destroy every human ship, every human colony, and probably Earth itself. 47 civilizations against one young species that had only reached the stars 200 years ago. I need to discuss this with my government, Hyunwoo said. You have 48 hours, Velthari replied. Not 1 second more. As Hyunwoo walked back down the long hallway, his mind was already working. The Council thought they had given humanity an impossible choice. Submit and live as prisoners or fight and die. But there was a third option. The Council just didn't know it yet. Back in his small quarters on the diplomatic section of the station, Hyunwoo activated his secure communication link. The signal would take 6 hours to reach Earth, but he had a faster way to send a message. He pressed a small button on his uniform collar. The signal lasted less than a second, but it would be picked up by sensors throughout human space. Captain Ji-Hai Seo would be moving her ship into position within the hour. The Council had made their threat. Now, it was time for humanity to show them what humans did when someone tried to put them in a cage. Hyunwoo looked out his small window at the beautiful, terrible space station around him. In 48 hours, he would give the Council their answer. He smiled for the first time since arriving. The Council expected humans to beg. They expected fear and desperate negotiations. They were about to learn that they had never really understood humans at all. The emergency meeting started before sunrise. President Dongmin Kim stood at the head of the long table in the Terran High Command Center, deep beneath the mountains of Korea. Around him sat the most powerful humans in the galaxy. The message from Hyunwoo had arrived 6 hours ago, but Kim had been expecting it for months. The Council's patience with humanity was running out. Now they wanted to put humans back in their place. Show me the numbers, Kim said to Admiral So-Young Lee. The Admiral touched her tablet, and a holographic display filled the air above the table. Tiny lights showed every human ship, every colony, every military base. Blue for civilian targets, red for military ones. We have 312 combat ships, Admiral Lee said. The Council has over 10,000. They have been building fleets for thousands of years. We have been in space for only 2 centuries. General Tai-Ho Nam, head of Colonial Defense, leaned forward. Numbers don't tell the whole story. Our ships are newer. Our weapons are better. Our people fight harder. That might be enough to win a few battles, Admiral Lee replied. But they can afford to lose 1,000 ships. We cannot afford to lose even 50. President Kim nodded. He had known this day would come since he took office 5 years ago. The Council tolerated young species as long as they stayed weak and obedient. Humanity had done neither. Dr. Woojin Choi cleared his throat. As head of the Colonial Engineering Corps, he had been building human colonies for 30 years. Mr. President, there's something the Council doesn't know about our settlements. Kim raised an eyebrow. Go on. Every colony we've built in the past 20 years has been designed for war, Dr. Choi said. Not just the military bases, all of them. Every farming dome has hidden weapon systems. Every mining facility can be turned into a fortress. Every transportation hub has underground ammunition storage. The room went quiet. Even Admiral Lee looked surprised. You've been building an army, she said slowly. I've been building 50. Armies, Dr. Choi replied. The council sees farming colonies and mining operations. They don't see what's underneath. Every human world is ready for siege. Kim felt a smile pulling at his lips. How long can they hold out? With local production and hidden supplies? Years, maybe decades. The council would have to destroy every world completely to stop us, and that would make them look like genocidal monsters to the rest of the galaxy. Captain Boram Shin of Intelligence spoke up. The council's bigger problem isn't military, it's political. 17 species have been asking questions about council policies. They don't like the idea of forced submission. If we fight back successfully, some of them might join us. President Kim walked to the window that looked out over the Korean mountains. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, council scout ships were probably watching Earth right now. Let them watch. What about the quantum weapons? He asked without turning around. Dr. Eugene Rowe from the Weapons Research Division stood up. The prototypes work better than we hoped. One shot from a quantum cannon can punch through any shield the council has. The problem is, we only have 12 of them installed on our biggest ships. Can we make more? Not in time for a war, but 12 might be enough to shock them. They've never faced weapons like this. Kim turned back to the table. Every face was looking at him, waiting for the decision that would determine humanity's future. Submit and live as slaves, or fight and maybe die free. Send a message to all human colonies, he said. Full military alert. Activate all hidden defenses. Begin evacuating non-essential civilians from border worlds. Admiral Lee nodded. What about Ambassador Park? What should he tell the council? Kim was quiet for a long moment. In the distance, he could hear the sound of hover cars moving through. The morning traffic of Seoul. Normal people going to normal jobs, not knowing that their species was about to make the biggest gamble in human history. Tell him to give them our answer in person, Kim said. And tell Captain Seo to move her ship closer to the council station. If they want to start a war, they can do it right there. 6 hours later, Hyunwoo received his orders. He read them twice to make sure he understood. Then he walked back to the council chamber. The same aliens sat in the same seats. Council Prime Velthari looked at him with those silver eyes that had seen the rise and fall of 100 civilizations. Have you brought humanity's answer? She asked. I have, Hyunwoo said. His voice was calm and clear. Humanity thanks the council for their generous offer. We decline. The chamber exploded in noise. Aliens shouted and screeched and flashed angry lights. Some stood up, towering over the human ambassador. Others slammed tentacles on their desks. Velthari waited for quiet. When it came, her voice was cold as space. You choose extinction over peace? We choose freedom over slavery, Hyunwoo replied. Your 300 ships against our 10,000? Your young species against civilizations older than your solar system? This is madness. Hyunwoo smiled, and several aliens stepped back at the sight. Humans smiling had always made them nervous. Maybe it is madness, he said, but it's our madness. We'll take our chances with freedom. As he walked out of the chamber, Hyunwoo heard Velthari giving orders to her fleet commanders. Council ships were already moving toward human space. The war was starting, but as the doors closed behind him, Hyunwoo heard something else. Quiet conversations between different alien species. Not all of them sounded happy about what was coming. The council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They were about to learn that sometimes the young and crazy species were the most dangerous ones of all. Captain Tae-hyun Kang watched the enemy ships approach through the view screen of Sejong Station. The lunar defense platform orbited Earth's moon, hidden behind a massive crater where no one could see it from space. For 20 years, the Council had thought it was just another mining facility. They were about to learn the truth. 200 ships incoming, reported Lieutenant Minho Park from the sensor station. Council enforcement fleet. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Kang nodded. The Council was being careful. 200 ships was enough to destroy any normal human defense, but small enough to claim they were just enforcing galactic law. They expected Earth to surrender after a quick demonstration of power. Any word from Captain Seo? Kang asked. The Indomitable is in position, sir, hidden behind Europa. She's waiting for your signal. Kang smiled. Ji Hye Seo was the best ship captain in the human fleet. Her ship, the Indomitable, was also humanity's most advanced warship. It carried one of the precious quantum cannons that the Council was so worried about. Sir, called Commander Yejin Park from the tactical station. Should I activate the Luna defense grid? Not yet, Kang replied. Let them get closer. We want them to think this will be easy. On the screen, the Council ships looked like a swarm of metal insects. Some were long and thin like swords. Others were round like bubbles. All of them bristled with weapons that could turn a planet into dust. The lead ship opened a communication channel. The face that appeared on screen was blue and had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern. When it spoke, the universal translator made its voice sound like grinding metal. Human defense platforms, this is Fleet Commander Zarthek of the Council Enforcement Division. By order of the Galactic Council, you will power down all weapons and prepare for occupation. You have 5 minutes to comply. Kang looked around. His command center. 43 humans sat at their stations, ready to fight impossible odds. Some of them had families on Earth below. All of them knew they might die in the next hour. Open a channel, he told his communications officer. This is Captain Kang of the Earth Defense Force. We received your message. Our answer is no. So, Alien Commander's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been surprise. Captain, you have 1 mining platform and perhaps 50 defensive ships. We have 200 warships with enough firepower to crack your moon in half. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Commander, Kang said, you made 1 mistake. What mistake? You assumed we only have 1 platform. Kang nodded to Commander Park. Activate the grid. All around Earth's moon, hidden installations came to life. What the Council had thought were communication satellites suddenly sprouted weapon barrels. Mining facilities opened up to reveal missile launchers. Even the scientific research stations turned out to have quantum torpedo tubes. The Luna defense grid had been humanity's most carefully guarded secret. 67 separate installations, all disguised as civilian facilities, all connected by underground power cables and communication links, all aimed at the approaching Council fleet. Impossible, the alien commander whispered. Fire, Kang ordered. Space lit up like a star going nova. Quantum torpedoes streaked toward the Council ships, moving faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Energy beams lashed out from hidden platforms. Missile swarms filled the space between Earth and Moon. The Council ships tried to return fire, but their weapons were designed for fighting other Council species. They had been using the same technology for 1,000 years. Humanity had been improving their weapons every single year. The first Council ship exploded in a ball of white fire. Then another. Then 10 more. Signal Captain Seo, Kang ordered. Time for the main event. The Indomitable came around Europa like an angel of death. Jihai Seo's ship was smaller than most of the Council vessels, but it moved like a living thing. It dodged between enemy ships, its hull gleaming under the light of Jupiter, and then it fired its quantum cannon. The beam of pure energy cut through space and hit the Council flagship dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive alien ship simply came apart. No explosion, no fire. It just stopped being a ship and became a cloud of metal dust. The Council fleet stopped advancing. In 3,000 years of galactic history, no primitive species had ever forced a Council fleet to retreat. But as more human ships appeared from hidden positions around the solar system, the alien commander made the hardest decision of his military career. All ships, withdraw to minimum safe distance. Send message to Council Prime. We need reinforcements. From his command center on Sejong Station, Captain Kang watched the enemy fleet pull back. They weren't running away completely, but they were no longer trying to attack Earth. Sir, Lieutenant Park reported, we lost 12 platforms and 14 ships. The Council lost 47 vessels. Kang nodded. The battle had been a success, but it was only the beginning. The Council would be back with more ships, and next time they would know what they were facing. Send a message to all human colonies, he ordered. The war has started. We bloodied their nose, but they'll be angry now. Commander Park looked up from her station. Sir, we're receiving communications from several non-Council species. They want to know how we defeated Council ships. What should I tell them? Kang thought for a moment. The galaxy was watching. Every species that had ever been bullied by the Council, every civilization that had been forced to bow down to superior firepower, was waiting to see what humans would do next. Tell them the truth, he said. Tell them that someone finally stood up to the bullies, and tell them that humans don't know how to surrender. As the Council fleet regrouped beyond Mars, emergency communication channels across the galaxy buzzed with the news. For the first time in 3 millennia, a young species had made the Council retreat. Some aliens were horrified, others were curious, and a few were quietly pleased. The galaxy was about to change, and it had started with humans who refused to kneel. The quarantine started 3 days after the Battle of Luna. Council ships surrounded human space like a metal wall, blocking every trade route and communication channel. Any ship trying to enter or leave human territory would be destroyed without warning. Engineer Seong-ho Yoon stood in his laboratory deep inside Titan Station, studying the quantum drive that would change everything. Around him, holographic displays showed the mathematical equations that had kept him awake for 6 months. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Dr. Mi-jin Han, head of human intelligence. She had flown to Titan specifically to see Yoon's breakthrough. "The math is solid," Yoon replied, running his hand through his messy hair. "Normal quantum drives bend space to move faster than light, but they create ripples that Council sensors can detect. This new design doesn't bend space at all." "Then how does it work?" Yoon smiled tiredly. "It convinces space that the ship was always somewhere else. No ripples, no energy signature, no trace at all. As far as the universe is concerned, the ship just stops existing in one place and starts existing in another." Dr. Han stared at the drive unit. It looked like a metal sphere covered in glowing blue lines. "How did you figure this out?" "I didn't. My daughter did." Yoon pointed to a drawing stuck to the wall. It showed a little girl jumping from one cloud to another. "She asked me why spaceships couldn't just jump like she jumps on rocks at the stream." I realized she was right. We've been thinking about this wrong for 200 years. The first test flight happened a week later. Captain Junho Lee took the modified scout ship Ghost of Terra on what should have been a suicide mission. He jumped directly through the Council blockade, past their sensor networks, and into deep space. The Council never knew he was there. "This is incredible," Lee reported over the encrypted communication link. "I'm sitting 2 kilometers from a Council battleship and they have no idea I exist. Their sensors show empty space." Back on Earth, President Dongmin Kim smiled for the first time since the war began. "How many ships can we modify?" "With current resources, maybe 50 within 6 months," Yoon replied. "But that's enough to start." Dr. Han had her own news. "Intelligence teams are ready to deploy. We've identified target locations on 37 Council worlds. If our people can get there undetected, we can gather information the Council never intended to share." The next 4 months changed everything. Ghost ships slipped through Council space like whispers in the dark. Human intelligence agents took jobs on alien worlds, posing as refugees or traders from neutral species. Slowly, they built a picture of what the Council really was. What they found was shocking. Agent Yuna Cho sent her report from the Council homeworld of Altair Prime. She had been working as a translator in the government archives for 3 months. "The Council isn't just old," she wrote. "It's dying. Their technology hasn't improved in over 1,000 years. They've been using the same ship designs, the same weapons, the same tactics since before humans discovered agriculture." Agent Hayreen. Song went even deeper. She had infiltrated the Council Military Academy on Vega 7. "Their officers are trained to fight wars from a textbook that's 2,000 years old. They've never faced an enemy that could adapt and change. They don't know how to handle new tactics or new technology." But the most important discovery came from Captain Lee himself. During his 5th scouting mission, he penetrated the most secure facility in Council space, the Strategic Planning Center on Rigel Station. What he found there made him sick. "They're not planning to defeat us," he reported to President Kim in an emergency transmission. "They're planning to exterminate us. Not just our military, all of us. Every human colony, every human ship, even Earth itself. They call it the Final Sterilization Protocol." The recording Lee had stolen was clear. Council leaders discussing the human problem like it was a disease to be cured. They talked about glassing human worlds and hunting down any survivors. They wanted to make sure no other young species would ever get ideas about defying Council authority. Dr. Han played the recording for the Terran High Command. When it finished, the room was silent. "They're scared," Admiral So Young Lee said finally. "They've been the supreme power for so long, they can't handle the idea of equals." "What's our response?" President Kim asked. "We accelerate everything," Dr. Han replied. "The intelligence network, the ship modifications, the colony defenses, and we prepare for the Council's final attack." "When will that come?" "Soon. My sources say they're massing the largest fleet in galactic history, over 3,000 ships from dozens of worlds. They want to end this before other species get brave enough to join us." Kim nodded. "Then we need to make sure we're ready for them." Over the next 2 months, humanity worked like never before. Every ship that could be modified got the new quantum drives. Every colony activated their hidden defenses. Every human in space prepared for what might be their last battle. But the most important work was happening in secret. Dr. Han's intelligence agents weren't just gathering information anymore. They were sharing it. The evidence of the Council's planned genocide spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had been loyal to the Council for centuries suddenly had questions. Why were the humans being targeted for complete extermination? What would happen to other species that disagreed with Council policies? 17 species formally demanded explanations from the Council. 5 more quietly opened communication channels with human colonies. 3 species withdrew their ships from the Council fleet that was gathering to attack Earth. The galaxy was starting to fracture, and the Council could feel their ancient authority slipping away. That's when they made their final mistake. Instead of trying to negotiate or explain their actions, they declared that any species questioning Council authority would be considered contaminated by human influence and subject to the same punishment. It was meant to frighten the galaxy back into submission. Instead, it convinced even more species that the Council had become a threat to everyone's freedom. As the massive Council fleet prepared for its final assault on human space, Captain Lee brought the Ghost of Terra home with the most important intelligence of all. "They're coming with everything they have," he told President Kim. "But they're not coming alone. Someone else is coming too." Kim raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "Everyone who's tired of being told what to do by ancient bullies," Lee replied. "The galaxy is about to change, Mr. President, and it's going to start with us." Admiral So-Young Lee stood on the bridge of the EFS Defiance, humanity's newest battleship, watching the greatest fleet in galactic history approach the edge of human space. Through the view screen, she could see thousands of lights moving between the stars. Each light was a Council warship carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. "Final count, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. 3,200 Council ships from 41 different species. They have us outnumbered, 10-1. Admiral Lee nodded calmly. "And our allies? 800 ships from 32 species. The Ketheri brought their entire fleet. The Volani sent their best captains. Even the Zephyrians came, and they haven't fought a war in 500 years. Lee smiled. 6 months ago, humanity had stood alone against the galaxy. Now they had allies who believed in the same dream of freedom. "Signal from President Song," the communications officer announced. President Hai-Rin Song had taken office after Dong-Min Kim stepped down to lead the Colonial Defense Forces. She was younger than Kim, but just as determined. "Admiral Lee," Song's voice came through the ship's speakers. "The Council has sent one final message. They want to negotiate." "After bringing 3,000 ships to our doorstep?" Lee asked. "Apparently they're having second thoughts. Half the galaxy is watching this battle. If they lose, their authority crumbles forever. If they win by destroying every human world, they look like genocidal tyrants." Lee considered this. The Council was trapped by their own reputation. For 3,000 years they had claimed to bring peace and order to the galaxy. Exterminating an entire species would make them look like conquerors instead of protectors. "What are their terms?" she asked. "They want us to surrender our quantum weapons and accept limited expansion rights. In return, they'll recognize human independence within our current borders." "And what did you tell them?" "I told them that humans don't negotiate from positions of weakness. If they want to talk, they can do it after we're done fighting." Lee laughed. That sounded exactly like something a human would say. "Admiral," the censor officer called out, "the Council fleet is splitting up. Looks like they're trying to surround our position." "Let them," Lee replied. "Captain Park, how are our ghost ships positioned?" Captain Yejin Park, now commanding the stealth squadron, answered from her hidden ship. 50 ghost ships in position behind enemy lines. They still can't see us coming. The Battle of the Orion Gate began at exactly 1400 hours, Galactic Standard Time. The Council fleet moved forward in perfect formation, just like their military textbooks taught them. They expected the humans and their allies to meet them head-on in traditional battle lines. Instead, the human fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. "What are they doing?" Council Fleet Commander Velkoth demanded from his flagship. "Why aren't they forming battle lines?" His tactical officer studied the sensor displays. "Unknown, sir. Their movements appear random." They weren't random. Every human ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. While the Council spent centuries training their officers to follow ancient tactics, humans had spent decades learning to improvise and adapt. The first surprise came when the Council's leading ships hit what they thought was empty space. Hidden minefields, invisible to their sensors, tore through their front ranks. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles died before they could fire a shot. The second surprise came from above and below. The human fleet hadn't scattered randomly. They had moved into a three-dimensional formation that surrounded the Council fleet from every direction. Suddenly, the aliens found themselves taking fire from angles their tactics manuals said were impossible. But the biggest surprise came from behind. Captain Park's ghost ships materialized in the middle of the Council fleet like avenging spirits. 50 ships appearing from nowhere, striking at command vessels and supply ships before vanishing again into stealth. The Council formation fell apart. "This is impossible!" Velkoth screamed. "How are they doing this?" His answer came in the form of quantum cannon fire. Admiral Lee's Defiance had punched through the Council's outer defenses and was heading straight for the flagship. The massive alien ship tried to turn its weapons on the human vessel, but Lee's ship moved like a dancer, dodging energy beams and missile swarms. The Defiance's quantum cannon spoke once. Velkoth's flagship, pride of the Council fleet, ceased to exist. Around the battlefield, other human ships were proving that size and numbers didn't always win wars. The destroyer Seoul, captained by Junsu Kim, took on 3 Council cruisers simultaneously and destroyed 2 of them. The cruiser Busan used its modified engines to literally jump behind enemy lines, appearing inside the Council formation to cause chaos. But the real victory wasn't happening in space. It was happening in the communication channels that connected every ship in both fleets. Ambassador Yuna Cho, now representing the Terran Alliance, was broadcasting on all frequencies. Her message was simple and powerful. "To all species fighting in this battle," she said, "look around you. The Council brought you here to destroy one young species that dared to ask for freedom. But we're not alone anymore. 32 civilizations have chosen to stand with us. They chose cooperation over domination. They chose progress over stagnation." On ships throughout the Council fleet, alien officers listened to her words. Some had been fighting for the Council for centuries. Others had joined because they thought it was their duty. But as they watched human ships outmaneuver and outfight vessels that should have been superior in every way, they began to question everything they had been told. "The Council says they bring order," Cho continued. "But what kind of order requires the extinction of an entire species? What kind of peace can only exist when everyone bows down to ancient authority?" The first Council ship to change sides was the Cathari vessel Storm's Edge. Its captain, a veteran of 50 battles, suddenly turned his weapons on the ship next to him and announced his defection to the human cause. Then another ship switched sides, then 10 more, then entire squadrons. The Council fleet, which had seemed unstoppable an hour before, was tearing itself apart from within. Admiral Lee watched it happen from her command bridge. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Cease fire and offer surrender. Terms to anyone who wants them." This war is over. It took 6 more hours to sort everything out. When the fighting finally stopped, the Council had lost 2/3 of their fleet. Some ships had been destroyed in battle. Others had simply left when their crews refused to fight anymore. A few had joined the growing alliance of free species. Council Prime Velthari, watching from her command center on the distant Council station, knew that 3,000 years of galactic dominance had just come to an end. 3 days later, the new Galactic Alliance held its first meeting on a space station in neutral territory. 38 species sent representatives. The Council sent an observer. President Song stood at the podium where Hyunwoo Park had once faced humanity's final judgment. Now, she was helping to write the rules for a galaxy where no single power could force others to submit. "We're not here to replace the Council's empire with a human one," she told the assembled delegates. "We're here to make sure that every species, no matter how old or young, strong or weak, has the right to determine its own future." The galaxy had given humanity a final warning. Humanity had given the galaxy a new beginning, and in the end, that made all the difference.